In recent years, China has intensified its naval presence along international maritime routes, especially in the Gulf of Aden, where piracy was a major threat to global trade. With a strategic focus, Beijing has developed robust military operations, combining advanced technology, constant patrolling, and international cooperation to neutralize pirate groups. This relentless approach has transformed the way China protects its maritime interests, showcasing an emerging and assertive model of naval power in combating piracy. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Now, let's get started. Theme 1: Chinese military strategies and naval operations in combating maritime piracy. Maritime piracy has been a constant threat to global trade routes, especially in areas near the Gulf of Aden and the Horn of Africa, where the fragility of coastal states and the high volume of maritime commerce created an environment conducive to pirate activities. In the early 2000s, these attacks caused serious financial losses and endangered the safety of crews and merchant ships. China, one of the world's largest economic powers and dependent on maritime trade for its prosperity, identified this threat as a strategic risk and implemented a robust and multifaceted response. In 2008, China launched its first anti-piracy mission in the Gulf of Aden, sending ships from the People's Liberation Army Navy plan to conduct patrols and escorts along one of the most critical maritime routes for global trade. This initiative marked the first time China carried out military operations outside its territorial waters in such a prolonged and regular manner. The main goal was to ensure the security of Chinese and international vessels against attacks from Somali pirates, who had become notorious for hijacking ships and demanding multi-million-dollar ransoms. The Chinese approach combined the use of advanced technology, including radar and communication systems for early monitoring and detection, with strategies of constant patrolling and an aggressive naval presence. Chinese ships were equipped with helicopters to extend the operational range and conduct aerial reconnaissance, enabling threat identification before pirates could approach. Additionally, the plan adopted active defense tactics, including the use of non-lethal weapons to disperse suspicious vessels and, when necessary, decisive responses involving the use of force to neutralize pirates. Another key aspect of China's strategy was international cooperation. China collaborated with naval forces from various countries, including the United States, the European Union, Russia, and Asian nations, in joint operations and intelligence sharing. This cooperation was essential for monitoring vast maritime areas and responding rapidly to incidents. China's presence also demonstrated the country's growing military power and its willingness to act as a responsible global player in maritime security. Beyond military operations, China also invested in diplomatic and economic initiatives to strengthen the stability of coastal regions affected by piracy. This includes support for development projects and training for local maritime security forces, aiming to improve governance and reduce the conditions that fuel piracy. The combination of direct and indirect pressure measures has proven effective, significantly reducing pirate attacks in the area. On the other hand, Chinese operations face criticism from international organizations and human rights experts, particularly concerning reports of harsh treatment of captured pirates and consequences for civilians in affected areas. Nevertheless, China's policy remains firm, emphasizing the need to protect its economic interests and navigational security, even if this involves aggressive military methods. Over time, China expanded its naval capabilities by incorporating new vessels, including frigates and destroyers equipped with modern weapon systems, reinforcing its power projection capacity in international waters. Furthermore, the development of logistical support bases, such as the naval base in Djibouti, East Africa, has ensured continuous support for anti-piracy operations, facilitating prolonged patrols. This integrated strategy of patrolling, technology, cooperation, and constant military presence reflects China's transformation from a regional actor to a global naval power with interests directly linked to maritime security. Combating piracy is thus part of a broader policy to secure trade routes, sustain economic growth, and consolidate Chinese influence internationally. Theme 2: The historical context of piracy in the Indian Ocean and the emergence of the modern pirate threat. Piracy in the Indian Ocean has roots dating back centuries, when maritime trade routes between Asia, Africa, and Europe were fundamental to the global economy. During the era of great colonial empires, such as the Portuguese, British, and Ottoman, the region saw numerous conflicts and confrontations involving pirates, privateers, and naval forces. However, the scenario changed drastically at the end of the 20th and beginning of the 21st century with the emergence of modern piracy, especially along the Somali coast, which became one of the most dangerous areas for international navigation. Somalia, a country with a long coastline of approximately 3,000 kilometers along the Indian Ocean and the Red Sea, experienced decades of political instability, collapse of central government, and civil wars. This absence of state authority created an environment conducive to the rise of non-state armed groups that took advantage of the vulnerability of coastal communities. Local fishermen, initially upset by illegal fishing by foreigners in their territorial waters, quickly transformed into organized pirates who began attacking commercial vessels seeking multi-million-dollar ransoms. The exponential growth of Somali piracy had a direct impact on global trade routes. Merchant ships transporting oil, raw materials, and manufactured goods between the Middle East, Asia, and Europe became frequent targets. The threat dramatically increased operational costs for shipping companies, as insurers raised premiums for vessels passing through the region, and many companies hired private armed escorts or diverted their routes, increasing travel time and expenses. In response to this escalation, the international community sought coordinated efforts to contain piracy. The UN, NATO, the European Union, and other organizations began implementing joint naval patrol operations. It was in this context that China decided to engage directly in the fight against piracy, recognizing that security in the Gulf of Aden directly impacted its strategic interests, especially the import of oil and the export of manufactured goods. Historically, piracy in the Indian Ocean had different characteristics from those observed in the Caribbean or the South China Sea. While 17th century European pirates were often linked to government-sponsored privateers, modern Somali piracy has more direct economic and social motivations stemming from state collapse and lack of opportunities. This new form of piracy presents distinct challenges, requiring military and diplomatic approaches adapted to the regional reality. The development of modern piracy also coincided with technological changes in navigation. The increasing use of fast boats and light weaponry facilitated surprise attacks against large, slow ships. Moreover, the fragmentation of pirate networks and the existence of multiple groups complicated international forces' actions, which needed to monitor a vast and insecure area. Another important factor in the historical context was the impact of piracy on the local population. Although pirates are internationally seen as criminals, many Somali coastal communities viewed these groups as a form of protection against foreign exploitation and as an economic alternative in a scenario of poverty and state neglect. This social complexity requires that anti-piracy operations also consider development and local stability measures to effectively address the root of the problem. By engaging in the fight against modern piracy, China took these historical and social aspects into account, adopting an approach that goes beyond mere use of force. The country invested in diplomatic cooperation with regional states, training of local security forces, and economic projects to restore governance and reduce piracy's appeal as a source of income. Thus, the historical context of piracy in the Indian Ocean and the emergence of the modern pirate threat are essential to understanding not only Chinese military operations, but also the global challenges in protecting vital maritime routes for the international economy. Understanding this complex past and present is fundamental for developing effective strategies to combat this evolving phenomenon that continues to challenge maritime security. Theme 3. Technology and equipment used by the Chinese Navy in combating piracy. Combating piracy at sea requires not only courage and strategy, but also the use of advanced technology and specialized equipment. The People's Liberation Army Navy, PLAN of China, has heavily invested in developing and modernizing its naval assets to ensure superiority in operations against pirates, especially in distant regions like the Gulf of Aden. PLAN's technological capability is one of the main factors that have enabled China to maintain an effective and continuous presence in anti-piracy efforts. One of the first technologies used by China was the installation of modern radar systems and onboard electronic sensors. These systems allow early detection of suspicious vessels at great distances, offering a strategic advantage to anticipate pirate attacks. Combined with integrated communication systems, Chinese ships can maintain constant contact among themselves and share real-time information with onshore command centers, optimizing response times. Besides traditional radars, the plan also employs electronic warfare technology to interfere with pirates' communications and reduce the effectiveness of their attacks. This capability is essential to prevent pirate groups from coordinating actions at sea and to disrupt their use of equipment like jeeps or radios for navigation and communication among illegal vessels. Another important technological element is the use of shipborne helicopters. Helicopters enable aerial patrols in areas difficult to monitor solely with vessels. They are crucial for rapid reconnaissance, capable of of identifying and approaching suspicious ships before they can launch attacks. In some operations, these helicopters also transport special forces teams for quick and secure boarding actions. The armaments installed on Chinese ships are another highlight. Although the use of lethal force is always an extreme measure, planned vessels are equipped with automatic cannons, heavy machine guns, and non-lethal systems such as sonic interference devices and intense lighting systems to disorient potential aggressors. This range of options allows the Navy to select the most appropriate tactic for each situation, balancing intimidation, deterrence, and offensive action. For transporting and deploying special forces, Chinese ships use fast support boats like high-speed launches, which enable quick access to suspicious vessels even in rough waters. These boats are essential for boarding and capturing pirates, ensuring mobility and safety for the teams during operations. Moreover, China has invested in developing maritime surveillance technologies based on satellites and drones. Satellite monitoring covers vast ocean areas, facilitating the identification of unusual movements and tracking pirate ships. Drones complement operations with silent and prolonged aerial surveillance without risking human crews. A significant advancement is the integration of artificial intelligence and big data analysis into naval operations. These systems help analyze behavioral patterns and maritime routes, anticipating possible attacks based on historical and real-time data. This predictive capability makes Chinese actions more efficient, reducing reaction times and increasing ship safety. Crew training also keeps pace with technological advancements. Plan has developed intensive programs for operating modern equipment, tactical approaches, and combat in hostile maritime environments. Additionally, there are exchanges with other navies to improve knowledge and piracy combat practices. Finally, it is important to highlight the role of overseas logistical bases, such as the Chinese naval base in Djibouti, East Africa. These facilities function as maintenance, refueling, and operations coordination centers, ensuring ships are always equipped and prepared for prolonged missions. The presence of this base also reinforces China's strategic positioning and power projection capability in the Indian Ocean. In summary, China's success in combating piracy is not due only to the number of ships deployed, but to the intelligent combination of advanced technology, modern equipment, specialized training, and logistical infrastructure. This technological and operational synergy represents an efficient naval action model in international waters, reflecting China's evolution as a global maritime power. Theme 4. Impact of Chinese anti-piracy operations on global trade and maritime security. Combating piracy at sea plays a crucial role in maintaining the security of international trade routes, especially in strategic areas such as the Gulf of Aden, the Red Sea, and the Indian Ocean. The growing presence of the Chinese Navy in these regions marks a significant milestone not only for China, but for the stability of global trade and maritime security worldwide. Analyzing the impact of this involvement offers an in-depth view of the direct and indirect effects of Chinese operations against piracy at sea. First, China is currently the world's largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity, and its maritime trade is vital for the circulation of goods, primarily oil, minerals, and manufactured products. Most of these goods are transported by ships crossing routes vulnerable to pirate attacks, especially near the Somali coast. Therefore, ensuring the security of these routes is essential to avoid supply chain disruptions that could cause billions in losses and global economic impacts. With the implementation of continuous naval operations in the Gulf of Aden, China has significantly contributed to the reduction of pirate attacks, which at their peak resulted in dozens of ships being hijacked annually. The constant presence of Chinese ships, allied with multinational efforts, has led to a marked decline in piracy incidents in the region. This direct stabilization has strengthened maritime trade flows, reducing insurance costs and increasing shipping companies' confidence to operate on previously dangerous routes. Another important impact is the strengthening of diplomatic relations between China and countries in the Horn of Africa and the Middle East. China's role in maritime security has created a new cooperation field involving intelligence sharing, joint training, and logistical support agreements. These partnerships not only reinforce regional security, but also expand Chinese influence in an area traditionally dominated by Western powers, promoting a new geopolitical dynamic. Beyond immediate security effects, the Chinese naval presence serves as a demonstration of the country's growing military power. China's capacity to operate in distant waters, maintain overseas logistics logistical bases and conduct long-duration missions elevates its status as a global maritime power. This generates a deterrent effect for pirate groups and illegal actors who perceive China's increasing technological and operational capabilities as a challenge to their impunity. From a global economic standpoint, reduced piracy contributes to the stability of oil and commodity prices. A secure route means less transport risk, directly impacting the final cost of products in various markets. Furthermore, piracy reduction facilitates trade between emerging and developed countries, promoting economic growth and sustainable development. However, Chinese involvement also raises important questions regarding the balance of power and regional sovereignty. Some coastal countries and international analysts observe that the Chinese military presence may be a step toward expanding its strategic influence in Africa and the Middle East, potentially causing tensions with other powers such as the United States and European Union members. The development of foreign naval bases, like the one in Djibouti, symbolizes this new phase of geopolitical competition. Moreover, China's approach to combating piracy, characterized by strict measures and use of force in certain situations, has faced criticism within the frameworks of human rights and international law. The capture, trial, and detention of pirates involve complex legal challenges, and there are debates about the transparency and fairness of processes conducted under Chinese supervision or influence. Another important indirect effect is China's influence in redefining international maritime security norms. By actively participating in international coalitions and establishing its own practices, China contributes to the evolution of global anti-piracy strategies, including the development of operational protocols, information exchange, and technical assistance to vulnerable countries. Finally, the impact of Chinese anti-piracy operations goes beyond the military and economic fields, affecting humanitarian and environmental aspects. By securing maritime routes, the increase in accidents and environmental damage caused by pirate attacks, such as hijacking oil tankers or vessels carrying hazardous substances, is prevented. The stability generated allows commercial and fishing maritime activities to be conducted more safely and sustainably. In short, the presence and operations of the Chinese Navy in combating piracy have profound and multifaceted effects on global trade, regional security, and international geopolitics. This involvement reaffirms China's role as an emerging protagonist in the global maritime scene, whose strategy directly influences the economic and political stability of vast regions worldwide. Theme 5: International Cooperation and Alliances in Combating Piracy. China's role in multinational operations. Combating piracy at sea, especially in regions such as the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean, is a global challenge that requires coordination and cooperation among various nations and international organizations. As China expands its naval presence in fighting this phenomenon, it has recognized the importance of establishing alliances and actively participating in multinational operations, combining its efforts with other powers to ensure the security of international maritime routes. This international cooperation not only strengthens the effectiveness of actions against pirates, but also reflects China's growing position as a responsible and influential actor on the global stage. Since China's first anti-piracy mission in the Gulf of Aden in 2008, it has sought integration into international maritime security mechanisms. Participation in coalitions and joint operations, such as those organized by the European Union, NATO, and other regional coalitions, has enabled the People's Liberation Army Navy plan to share information, intelligence, and resources with other naval forces. This has resulted in better coordination in patrols and rapid responses to incidents, reducing vulnerable areas and increasing operational reach. Moreover, cooperation is not limited to military operations. China has established diplomatic and technical dialogues with piracy-affected countries such as Djibouti, Kenya, and Somalia, promoting training for local maritime security forces. The goal is to strengthen these nations' capacities to deal with their own threats, reducing dependence on foreign intervention and fostering long-term stability. The training includes patrolling techniques, maritime crime investigation, and crisis management, contributing to the professionalization of coastal forces. Intelligence sharing is a fundamental component of this cooperation. China has become part of international networks for exchanging data on suspicious activities, pirate ship routes, and criminal operations. This technological and informational integration allows for anticipating attacks and organizing joint responses, optimizing the use of available naval resources forces and minimizing risks to crews. Another important aspect is the joint military exercises conducted by China with other navies, including those of the United States, Russia, India, and European countries. These exercises simulate real piracy combat scenarios and approaches to suspicious vessels, strengthening interoperability among forces and increasing the capacity for cooperation in multinational operations. Such exercises also serve as demonstrations of political and military commitment to collective anti-piracy efforts. China's naval base in Djibouti symbolizes this international collaboration, functioning as a logistical support point not only for Chinese operations, but also for other allied forces and regional partners. This infrastructure facilitates refueling, ship maintenance, and coordination of extended missions, reinforcing China's presence in the strategic maritime corridor connecting the Red Sea to the Indian Ocean. However, this cooperation faces significant challenges. Political, cultural, and strategic differences among the involved countries can hinder coordination and rapid decision-making. China, for example, maintains a diplomatic stance distinct from some Western powers, prioritizing national sovereignty and avoiding direct intervention in partners' internal affairs. This approach requires delicacy in alliance building and mutual respect to ensure the continuity of joint operations. Additionally, there are geopolitical concerns related to China's expanding influence in the African continent and strategic maritime routes. Some analysts view Chinese cooperation as part of a broader strategy to increase its naval power and project global influence, potentially generating rivalries with traditional powers. Nevertheless, in practical terms, collaboration against piracy has proven to be fertile ground for dialogue and trust building among countries with diverse interests. Legally, China also participates in international initiatives to harmonize legislation related to combating piracy, such as the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. Standardizing procedures for the capture, trial, and punishment of pirates is essential to ensure that operations respect human rights and international law, avoiding conflicts and legal controversies among the countries involved. In conclusion, international cooperation in combating piracy, with China's active role, reinforces the idea that maritime security is a collective effort transcending national borders. The integration of forces, technologies, and information enables a more efficient response to threats that disregard territorial limits, protecting not only Chinese interests, but the entire global community reliant on safe and smooth maritime transport. Theme 6. Chinese tactical strategies in combating piracy, approaches and operational procedures. In the complex and dynamic scenario of combating maritime piracy, the effectiveness of operations deeply depends on the tactical strategies employed by naval forces. The People's Liberation Army Navy, PLAN of China, has developed a set of procedures and operational approaches that combine technology, rigorous training, and intelligence to swiftly neutralize pirate threats on the high seas. This theme explores these strategies in detail, highlighting how China adapts its tactics to face different scenarios and ensure mission success. One of the first strategies adopted by PLAN is constant surveillance and monitoring of risk areas. Through the use of advanced radars, satellites, drones, and aerial patrols conducted by embarked helicopters, the Chinese Navy can detect suspicious movements at great distances, often even before pirates approach commercial routes. This anticipation capability is crucial to prepare teams and strategically position resources, avoiding ambushes and surprise attacks. Next, rapid mobilization is a key component of Chinese operations. Once a threat is detected, nearby naval units are immediately dispatched to intercept suspects. For this, fast support vessels and helicopters are used, capable of reaching pirate ships quickly even in adverse maritime conditions. This speed reduces the time pirates have to organize and increases the chance of successful boarding. When approaching a suspicious vessel, PLAN employs intimidation and deterrence tactics such as intense lights, sirens, loudspeakers, and controlled warning shots. The objective is to avoid direct confrontations, persuading pirates to cease their activities peacefully. When necessary, non-lethal measures that disorient aggressors are employed, minimizing risks to both sides. If deterrence fails, China does not hesitate to use lethal force to protect crews and valuable cargo. Onboard special operations teams are trained for rapid and precise boarding, able to neutralize threats efficiently. The use of heavy weapons like machine guns and automatic cannons is applied cautiously, aiming to contain conflicts without unnecessary collateral damage. Another fundamental tactical aspect is the coordinated use of teams during boardings. Combat units are divided into groups that act simultaneously at strategic points points on the target ship, ensuring pirates have no chance to resist or escape. Constant training in hand-to-hand combat, special equipment use, and operations in confined spaces enables these actions to be executed with high precision. Besides actions at sea, plan focuses on prevention through intelligence operations to identify pirate support networks on land, where attacks are planned and equipment stored. This integrated approach involves cooperation with local and international security agencies to dismantle criminal groups at their base. The presence of the Chinese naval base in Djibouti contributes to planning and supporting these tactical operations. The base offers infrastructure for rapid repairs, resupply, and rearming, allowing missions to have greater duration and reach. This logistical support is vital to maintain team readiness and ensure firepower and mobility are never compromised. China also invests in continuously adapting its tactics according to changes in pirates' modus operandi. For example, with the growing use of smaller and faster vessels by criminals, Plan has enhanced its fast launches and radar systems to maintain superiority. Flexibility and constant innovation are pillars that keep operations effective in the face of evolving challenges. Moreover, strict discipline and internal coordination are notable characteristics of Chinese operations. Crews trained to act under pressure follow detailed protocols, minimizing errors and ensuring a uniform and organized response. This is especially important in hostile and unpredictable environments, where quick decisions can determine mission success or failure. Regarding relations with merchant ship crews under protection, Plan promotes constant communication to guide them during operations, ensuring they do not inadvertently interfere with military actions and guaranteeing everyone's safety. This close collaboration helps build trust and improves operational effectiveness. Finally, Chinese tactical strategies are not limited to direct combat, but include efforts to stabilize the region long-term through cooperation with local governments and development investments. This holistic approach recognizes that maritime security also depends on stability ashore, aiming to tackle piracy's roots. In summary, the tactical strategies of the Chinese Navy in combating piracy reflect a combination of advanced technology, specialized training, rapid response capability, and international cooperation. This combination provides a decisive advantage to neutralize maritime threats, protect vital trade routes, and consolidate China's position as an emerging naval power. Theme 7. Legal aspects and human rights in China's fight against maritime piracy. The fight against piracy on the high seas involves not only military and strategic challenges, but also complex legal and human rights issues that directly impact the actions of naval forces. China's participation in combating maritime piracy, especially in international waters near the Horn of Africa, requires a careful balance between the use of force, the application of international law, and respect for humanitarian norms. This topic addresses the main legal and ethical aspects surrounding Chinese operations against pirates, highlighting the challenges and solutions adopted. Initially, it is essential to understand that piracy is considered a universally punishable crime under international law, mainly governed by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. This convention establishes that any state can take action against acts of piracy on the high seas, regardless of the nationality of the pirates or the victims. China bases its actions on this legal framework, ensuring international legitimacy. However, practical application of this law presents substantial challenges. One of these is the capture and prosecution of apprehended pirates. Many countries involved in anti-piracy efforts have differing national legislations and judicial capacities. China often opts to transfer captured pirates to its territory for trial, raising issues concerning jurisdiction, legal guarantees, the rights of the accused, and criticism regarding transparency and treatment. Respect for human rights during operations is another crucial aspect. Chinese forces conducting boardings and confrontations must follow protocols that minimize excessive use of force and ensure dignified treatment of suspects. Concerns over possible abuses, arbitrary detention, or inadequate incarceration conditions are raised by international observers and human rights organizations demanding greater oversight and transparency. Moreover, protecting merchant ship crews, often direct victims of pirate attacks, is a priority. China has developed guidelines to safeguard these civilians during operations, ensuring military actions do not endanger lives and promoting communication and evacuation protocols during danger. Their well-being is central to anti-piracy efforts. Legal issues also extend to international cooperation. China participates in joint efforts to harmonize piracy-related laws, aiming to establish common standards for capturing, trying, and punishing criminals. This harmonization is vital to avoid legal conflicts and ensure fair, effective procedures that respect all parties' rights. Nonetheless, Nevertheless, China's role has faced criticism globally. Some countries and organizations accuse China of using anti-piracy operations as a pretext to expand its military presence in strategic regions, potentially generating geopolitical tensions. This perception can affect international cooperation and create diplomatic obstacles, highlighting the need for transparency and ongoing dialogue to maintain legitimacy. Another sensitive issue concerns the captured pirates, often originating from impoverished and conflict-ridden contexts such as Somalia. This raises debates about the structural causes of piracy and the need for approaches including social and economic development alongside military repression to prevent recurrence and promote regional stability. Finally, international humanitarian law imposes restrictions on the use of force in naval operations, especially when civilians are involved. China seeks to adhere to these principles to avoid violations, but the complex and hostile operational environment challenges this effort. Rapid decision-making in risky situations often test the limits of these norms. In summary, the legal and human rights aspects of China's fight against piracy reflect an intersection of security, justice, and ethics. Maintaining this balance is crucial to ensure effective, legitimate, and respectful operations, consolidating China's position as a responsible actor on the international stage and contributing to a safe and just maritime order. Theme 8: Technology and equipment used by the Chinese Navy in combating piracy. In the fight against maritime piracy, technology and equipment play a fundamental role in ensuring efficiency, safety, and speed in operations. The People's Liberation Army Navy Plan of China has invested significantly in technological advances and specialized equipment to face pirate threats, especially in critical areas such as the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean. This topic explores in detail the innovations, tools, and systems supporting China's capability to protect vital maritime routes and neutralize attacks precisely. One technological pillar is the Integrated Maritime Surveillance and Monitoring System. Plan uses advanced long-range radars that can detect suspicious vessels tens of kilometers away, even in adverse weather or busy naval traffic zones. Complementing this, the use of space satellites provides a comprehensive, real-time operational view, enabling continuous tracking and analysis of pirate movement patterns. Unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, are another essential innovation. These devices are employed for reconnaissance and patrols, covering large maritime areas at low operational cost and without exposing crews to direct risks. Drones transmit real-time images and data to command centers, facilitating quick and accurate decision-making. Additionally, Chinese ships deployed in anti-piracy missions are equipped with modern encrypted communication systems, ensuring secure information exchange between vessels and land bases. This secure communication is vital for coordinating multinational operations and preventing sensitive data leaks that could compromise missions. The Chinese Navy also utilizes fast, agile boats equipped with powerful engines and state-of-the-art navigation systems. These interceptors are crucial for rapidly reaching suspicious vessels, especially those used by pirates, which tend to be small, fast, and difficult to track. The boat's design withstands rough sea conditions, ensuring operational capability even in turbulent waters. Regarding armament, Plan has automatic machine gun systems, small and medium caliber cannons, as well as non-lethal deterrent equipment. Balanced use of these resources allows switching between peaceful approaches and forceful responses, adapting to the threat level presented by pirates. Global navigation and positioning systems such as Beidou, China's satellite navigation system, are widely used, ensuring precise location tracking of friendly and suspicious vessels and facilitating coordinated boarding actions. Beidou provides an autonomous alternative to jeeps, reinforcing China's technological independence. Thermal and night vision cameras stand out as well, enabling effective operations during night or low visibility conditions. This extends the operational window for Chinese vessels, reducing pirates' advantage when attacking under cover of darkness. China has also invested in cybersecurity technologies to prevent electronic attacks that could compromise ship control systems or communications. This concern is critical, as maritime conflicts now also involve digital security. Plan's command and control centers are equipped with data analysis software that processes field information, cross-referencing historical data, behavioral patterns, and intelligence to predict possible attacks. The use of artificial intelligence and big data has increased operational effectiveness, allowing teams to stay one step ahead of pirates. Beyond technology applied directly to vessels, China develops advanced training for crews operating this equipment, ensuring operators are skilled in maximizing the tool's potential efficiently. The integration of these technologies and equipment allows the Chinese Navy to maintain a proactive stance against piracy, guaranteeing guaranteeing effective protection of maritime routes, crew safety, and freedom of navigation. This technological combination demonstrates China's commitment to consolidating its naval presence and contributing to global maritime security. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed our content, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. Also, check out some other interesting videos popping up right now on your screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Until next time.